let's move on to our final presentation by Rudi Friedrich from Connection EV. He will be talking about developments in asylum protection for conscientious objectors and deserters.
I would like to share the PowerPoint presentation with you. So, I will speak about the question, how is it possible for the Belarusian, for the Russian and Ukrainian conscripts to stay abroad because they refuse the war? And here I have just the terms to remind that we are speaking legally about different things, about a conscientious objector who declares his conscientious objection. We speak about the conscription system, but not only, because volunteers are involved as well. We speak about draft evasion, so means people who refuse to go to the military before they are called up because they see what's going on. They see that if they are called up, they could end in the war. And we speak about desertion, deserters who refuse to take part in the war if they are already in the military. Just as a reminder, what we are talking about. Here are some numbers. You see, these are estimations we made now 2 years ago, how many left the different countries. And you see that most of Russians left it to the neighborhood countries in the south. Not many came to the European Union. From Belarus, most of them are in Lithuania, and from Ukraine, most of them are in the European Union. Here, just to give you numbers from Germany, and you can see about 6,000 came to Germany to apply for a refugee status, but only 200 are recognized. So the most of them are not recognized. Half of them are denied, the application are denied because they entered the European Union via another country, and then Germany is saying this country is responsible for the asylum application. But if you see the rest of it, so formally decided, then you have still 1,800 who are decisions about the refugee status and only 200 who are recognized. That's really a low number. Altogether to the European Union, there were coming about 17,000 men in the age of 18 until 60 to ask for asylum. Here a picture of our campaign, and here an action we made, just to have some nice things in between. So, and now I come to the question, conscientious objection and asylum. In principle, we have to see that the prosecution for desertion or conscientious objection is not a reason to get asylum. That is the main reason why so many are denied. For the Ukrainian man, there is a particular situation because as citizens from Ukraine, they have the right to stay in the European Union without any restrictions under the humanitarian right of residence until March 2026. So the restriction is a limited time, but there is no restriction for the status. That means that also conscientious objectors, draft evaders, and so they are in the European Union. To Russia, we have the decision of the French highest court for asylum, saying that draftees should get asylum. And for Germany, we have the decision of the German government that deserters should get asylum. And as I see, this is happening. But on the other hand, we have to see that especially draft evaders are not accepted as refugees, as the numbers were given. Now, one example of a decision, we have tens of it. So the German Federal Office of Migration is saying it could not be assumed with considerable probability that the applicant would be called up to join the armed forces or to be deployed to the war in Ukraine. So they are defining if there is a real risk or not to be deployed to Ukraine or not. And then they are looking for all the information they have, and they have it normally from the European Union and from other governments. And then they say, oh, there are so many millions of people in Russia who could be called up and could be deployed, and only 2% of it, it's for them, it's a real risk. So it's not a real risk. It's not a considerable probability. And that's the reason why so many applications are denied. Then there was a decision in January this year from a lower court, a lower administrative court in Berlin, and they were looking very carefully for the situation in Russia. And as you can see here, it's saying something to a normal conscript who is 19 years old, and it's saying that there is a real risk to be recruited, and then there is a real risk to be sent to Ukraine. And that means that this would be in contrary to international law. And so they accept him. It is interesting to follow this case because there is said that it's not really a possibility in Russia to get accepted the alternative service. And there is another danger if they really give a stance of anti-war, then they could be prosecuted because of this stance. This is another important argument, I think. And then here is another argument which is interesting. The court says the occupied Ukrainian territories of Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia are seen as Russian territory, and so conscripts could be sent to these regions. What means in international law, it is violating international law. And so on this basis, the administrative court in Berlin decided to give them refugee status. Unfortunately, this decision is not final. So the Federal Office of Migration made a call against it, and it will be sent to the next higher court. And this higher court decided in the past against the objectors, against the refusers. So it's open what will happen. And it's a really dangerous situation for a lot of Russian objectors and refusers in Germany. And that's the reason why we from Connection said we should emphasize another possibility, another argument for the legal decisions referring to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. Because if you take a look in this Rome Statute, you will see that everyone who is taking part in such illegal actions, but also in such illegal wars, should be punished. That's written in the Rome Statute, and that means, on the other hand, everyone is obliged to refuse And if he refuses and has to see prosecution, he should get a refugee status. This would be another argument which is not used by the courts in the moment, but I think in these cases we should emphasize this. So that's all what I wanted to tell you. Here are the contact details, and I'm open for questions if you have any time for it. Thanks a lot.